events and planning. I'd also like to give a huge shout out and thank you to Jeremy, Trey, Joseph, and Jenny from FDIC for being with us today and joining us for the trek. A few reminders before we get started. If you have not had the opportunity yet to complete the registration form, please do so right now. That is located in the chat feature of Zoom. This will allow us to track who's in attendance today and share that information with your university. Also, we are recording today's event and it will be located on the Career Trek website within the week. And you can see at the upper left portion of the screen, that website is a reminder. Also want to note that next week's Career Trek will feature festival foods hosted by UW Eau Claire. So if you have time in your schedule next week, please join us again for that Career Trek. If you do have any questions throughout the trek today, please go ahead and add them to the chat feature of Zoom. Jeremy, Trey, Joseph, and Jenny will answer those during the Q&A portion of today's event. And that being said, we're going to go ahead and get started. I'm going to turn the trek over here and stop sharing my screen.
There we go. All right, thanks, Alyssa. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for taking the time to join us today and give us an opportunity to tell you about the FDIC, its mission, what we do here, and then talk to you a little bit about career opportunities at the FDIC. My name is Jeremy Nims, and I am a supervisory examiner on the risk management side, and we'll talk about that as we go. And I am located in the Eau Claire, Wisconsin field office. And I have several colleagues with me here today. I'll introduce them quickly. Trey.
I'm used to Microsoft Teams, sorry. I'm Trey Johnson. I'm Jeremy's counterparty here in the Appleton, Wisconsin field office. So I'm also a supervisory examiner.
And Amy.
Hi, my name is Amy Richardson. I'm a supervisory examiner in the Madison, Wisconsin field office for DCP.
Jenny.
Hi there, I'm Jenny Holt and I work in the Eau Claire, Wisconsin field office with Jeremy and Joseph, and I'm a financial institution specialist.
And last but not least, Joseph.
As Jenny already indicated, my name is Joseph Schroeder. I work out of our Eau Claire field office and I'm also a financial institution specialist. Again, lots of terms that hopefully you'll have a better understanding of what they are and what they mean by the end of the presentation.
All right, so I will turn it over to Trey, who's going to kind of give you a background on the agenda, what we're going to talk about today. Trey?
Yeah, okay. So like I said, Trey Johnson, supervisor examiner in Appleton, Wisconsin. I've been with the FDIC, gosh, almost 17 years now. And, you know, with the exception of Jenny and Joe, who are a little newer, one thing you'll find with the FDIC is there's a lot of tenure, and which is why we're here today, right? We're trying to recruit new talent. You know, we talk about building our bench, building our talent pool, and we've really upped our recruiting aspects. Jeremy does a great job representing our territory, and you know, we're really looking for new intelligent, energized people. So to kind of give you just an overview of our agenda, we've broken it down into 4 sections. So the first section I'm going to cover, and that's just an overview of the organization. I'm going to give you a very short background, give you the short history of the FDIC, and then talk a little bit about the key functions, where we work, where we're looking to hire. In the middle of that, Joe and Jenny are going to talk a little bit about the exam process, so you get an idea of what's going on there. Then I'll throw it to Jeremy. He's going to talk about the culture, the mission and culture of the FDIC, the benefit of working for the FDIC. You know, besides just the exhilarating work, you know, there are a lot of benefits outside of that we want to make sure to highlight. And then the team as a whole, we're going to we're going to talk to you about what positions are open, what opportunities are out there. And then probably the most important session will be the fourth session, which will take your questions. So with that, I'll go ahead and get started. Jeremy, if you can throw it to slide 5. So yeah, to give you just a quick overview of the Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation, we're an independent federal agency, and we were created in response to the Great Depression. So we were created by the 1933 Banking Act, and it was actually we were established as a temporary organization, and then made permanent in 1935. But the idea behind the FDIC was to promote or establish public confidence in the American banking system. And the FDIC, we supervise the vast majority of community institutions nationwide. And, so a lot of what we do, a lot of the supervision and examination that we do from an organization is dealing with community banks that lend to your farmers, your small businesses, your parents. We deal on a slightly smaller scale for the most part, although we have institutions in our portfolio that have gotten quite large. And we're here to create and establish confidence in kind of the banking system. Yeah, that's all I've got for this one, Jeremy. If you'll go to the next one. So yeah, our mission, as I mentioned, is to maintain stability and public confidence in the nation's financial system. And we do that a number of different ways. So our primary one, which I'll touch on the next slide, is insuring deposits. We examine banks, and I should say just overall supervision. So we're monitoring institutions. We do a lot more than just examining banks. And we also look at them from a consumer protection standpoint, which Amy will talk about in a minute. And we also have a large, complex financial institution section. Our vision and values, I really want to point you to the bottom, the 6 phrases or terms on the bottom. And those are our 6 core values: integrity, confidence, effectiveness, financial responsibility, fairness, and teamwork. And when you work for the FDIC, you really do have a higher responsibility. The expectations of you as a person, as an individual, are just higher. You're representing a thing that's larger than you, that's promoting the stability and public confidence in our nation's system. I want to highlight teamwork there, because that's a lot of what we do. And Jenny and Joseph are going to highlight, both in the exam process and in the positions that we have, the opportunities that we have, that you work in teams. It's from soup to nuts, from the beginning to the end of an examination. You're working in a team environment, and it's I think that's a strength of the way we approach things, in the sense that you're not just placed on an island. We have a lot of knowledge transfer. We focus on training. We focus on knowledge transfer in general, and that's done so in a team environment. And I think too, that makes the work more interesting. If you're sitting around a table in a bank examining an institution, and a lot of people have a lot of different life perspectives or interesting stories or things, so it keeps things a little interesting outside of you just doing your daily, taking care of your daily grind. So Jeremy, if you want to move to the next. All right, so we have 3 key functions at the FDIC. I'll start with insurance, which I kind of referenced before. So we insure deposits, and the way we promoted public confidence in the banking industry in 1934 is we established the FDIC Insurance. And we act as an insurance company. When I say that we're an independent government agency, we're not funded by taxpayer dollars, which provides us some benefit in other areas, which we'll touch on later in the presentation. But the idea is that when you walk into an institution and you deposit your $500 that you got for a couple days work, for me, like in college at a golf course, knowing that if that institution fails, you're still going to get your $500 back, that it's not lost, really creates a blanket or a system of insurance for the banking industry. If you all were probably too young to remember the last recessionary economic environment, but the one thing we did not see is bank runs. So as the performance of our institution started to deteriorate, and you saw more and more foreclosures and issues just in the financial system in general, the one thing you didn't see were bank runs, which is where customers of a bank all go to a bank at one time trying to take out their deposits. And the reason for that is because they knew they had deposit insurance, so they really didn't have to worry about it. Life has a lot to worry about, but knowing that you have deposit insurance, so you don't have to worry about your money in a bank, that's a nice aspect of of what we do. Another thing that we do to jump to the bottom is receivership management. And so when you do have a financial institution that just doesn't perform the way it should and ultimately ends up becoming insolvent and fails, we have an entire division with the FDIC that handles that. So they handle everything from managing the institution leading up to the failure with our we call DRR, our Division of Resolutions and Receiverships, they'll actually transition a bank from its original bank to a new bank in a weekend when an institution fails. It's very interesting, man. The members of DR, they fly into towns under assumed names. There's this veil of secrecy. And then on a Friday at 5 o'clock, they close an institution and flip it. And by that Monday, it's a new bank. I've been on 3 or 4 bank closings. It's really, when I get asked what's interesting about your job, I always refer back to the 2 or 3 times I was on a bank. I guess it was 4 times I was on a bank closing. But the final thing, and what we primarily do, what everyone that's here today for this meeting does, is we're part of the group, the supervision group, and we have two kind of subsets in that, and that's risk management supervision, which is what I'm in, and that's analyzing a bank's financials. You're looking at a bank's balance sheet, the quality of their loan portfolio, just kind of the solvency of the institution. So it's kind of the finance side. And we go into an institution, we'll examine them over a course of 3 weeks to a month, and you make a determination on the solvency of an institution. The idea is that we're always monitoring our banks to know if there is deterioration. Now, from a consumer protection or consumer harm standpoint, I'm going to let Amy describe that, because that's what she does, and I would just I would not do a good job. So I'll throw it to Amy to describe what they do at DCP.
Sounds good. Thanks, Trey. So as Trey alluded to, I work for the Division of Depositor and Consumer Protection, and we are very much tasked with making sure that we protect consumers, and we're identifying potential areas of consumer harm with regard to the products and services that you all would get at a bank. So that is kind of our major task. So from a field perspective, we do very much like what risk management does, is that we do exams. And we go into banks and we make sure that they are complying with the numerous rules and regulations that they are required to comply with. But it's very much from a consumer protection perspective. So we do things like, are the loans that the bank makes, are they done in an equitable fashion from a gender, ethnicity, and race perspective? Are the products that they're advertising, are they being advertised in an accurate way so as not to mislead people? So that is the kind of work that we do, and it's very interesting. I'll turn it back to you.
Yeah, Amy's side of things too is promoting banking to the unbanked, right? And they Amy's entire group is essentially based on making sure that it's fair and equitable, and that we as consumers have a right and opportunity to be a member of a bank. So I'm going to throw the next slide over to Jenny and Joseph, and they're going to give you kind of an overview of an FDIC exam. So I've referenced exams, like I said, on both consumer protection and risk management supervision. We have an exam process, and I thought it'd be good for them to describe that process to you. Most importantly, because whether you join the FDIC as an intern or in what we call our financial institution specialist program, this is primarily what you'll do. So Jenny, Joe, if you'll take it over.
Thanks, Trey. And so just to kind of talk about the pre-exam process. And so like Trey had talked about, so primarily when we're off-site at a bank, we'll usually look at the bank's different policies that they might have in place, reviewing their financial statements, and then reviewing different ratios that we can obtain about that certain bank. And so from that review, that's when we develop, as you can see there on that third bullet point, risk scope, the exam plan, so we can kind of figure out what we want to look at on site more specifically, just so then our exam is more risk focused in that sense. And so I'll pass it to Joe to kind of talk more about the during the exam process?
Of course. Obviously, just wanted to quickly preference that this is for our risk type exams. So as we indicated earlier, there's both the risk management section of this as well as consumer protection. So this exam cycle process is specifically for the risk management portion. And so when it comes to during an actual exam, that's when in normal times we would be on site at a bank working from normally the board of directors room. At the moment, due to the pandemic, we've been conducting our examination work offsite, but that's at the point where we're reviewing various financial and other sort of related information to the institution, checking on their capital levels, reviewing their overall earnings performance, how they're making their money, are they liquid enough if they were to need additional cash, as well as the overall management of the bank. The people who are running it, are they doing a good job of it? Do they know what they're doing? Do they have plans for when retirements and other changes come up? And then one of the biggest components of a bank exam tends to be reviewing the overall asset quality of the institution. So looking at most of our banks, they're making loans to individuals, whether that's consumer loans, loans to businesses, loans to farmers. And part of our exam process is reviewing those loans, making sure that they're making them for legitimate purposes, making sure that they're ensuring that there isn't an adverse or too large of risk being taken, as well as making sure that they're lending to people in their community to help those out for who they were established for, making sure the bank is doing the work for the community around it. And then after all of that, we kind of work through all those different components, work with the bank itself, as well as working on an overall team portion. You'll normally have, at least for exams I've been on, we'll have anywhere from 7 to 11 different examiners all working together, bouncing ideas, training each other, just a bit of everything going on at once. And then we get to that post-exam process.
Yep. So then in that post-exam process, like Joe talked about, that's when we kind of put everything together. And so any findings we might have or recommendations that we want management to improve on, we put this into our report of examination. And then so with that report, we present the recommendations, findings. If we have any violations that the bank had, we present that to the board of directors for the bank, just so then they're kind of aware of it, because overall the board of directors are responsible for the bank and making sure that management is running the bank how the board of directors actually wants it to be run. And so
yeah, so if you guys can see from what Jenny and Joe mentioned, you know, an exam has several different aspects to it, right? So you're providing a written report. So we have an expectation that you learn how to. The FDIC style of writing is slightly different than probably what you're currently doing, you know, at your schools, and then we also have a portion of it which is dealing with and meeting with bank management. And as Jenny said, and she did for me on an exam not too long ago, she presented to a board of directors. So you kind of need to be comfortable with public speaking in that respect, and also interviewing bank employees, and then also, you know, collaborating with your team, I think is very important. So, you know, these exams take anywhere from I would say 3 to 6 weeks, depending on the size and the complexity of the institution. But it's, you know, as a new hire with the FDIC, whether it's via internship or our financial institution specialist program, you know, we're going to throw you right into this, and our expectations will be appropriate. It's not that you're going to be able to step in and be able to conduct an exam, but we want to start getting you the real world experience right away. It's not a lot of classroom type stuff. We focus on just in time on the job training. Right, Jeremy, I'll take the next slide, please, sir. So just wanted to quickly go over where we work. So the FDIC is headquartered in Washington, D.C. Our main building, it's on F Street, which is a couple blocks from the White House. We actually have a lunchroom. I've only been in once, but you can look down over the White House, the back lawn of the White House. But we have several buildings and a training facility in DC. And when you work for the FDIC, you spend a good amount of time out there. They have a residence facility, and it's right in a very nice part of Arlington, Fairfax, Virginia. And but then we also have 6 regional offices. As you can see here, Chicago, Kansas City, San Francisco, Dallas, and Atlanta, and New York. We represent the Chicago regional office. There's over 80 field offices nationwide examining community banks. And then in Wisconsin, we have the 4 field offices. So not to get too much into the weeds, we have 2 territories. We have the Eau Claire territory and the Madison territory. And kind of based on geography, one set examines the northern half of the state and the other set examines the bottom half. Everybody here today, except for Amy, Amy's part of Amy represents the entire state, but the rest of us represent the Eau Claire territory. So you have an office right there in Eau Claire, and then mine is in Appleton, just by the airport. So yeah, that's what we have for the locations. I want to throw it to Jeremy now, and he can start talking about the benefits of and why the FDIC is a top employer of choice. Maybe. Jeremy, are you able to get it off mute? Hello, Jeremy.
I'm off mute now, right?
All right,
Can you hear me?
got you.
Well,
All
here,
right,
what I
here we
said
go.
was really good. I'll say it twice. Like Trey said, I truly believe the FDIC is a top employer of choice. And why do I believe that? It's our workplace culture and programs. As Trey mentioned before, fun fact, we are not congressionally appropriated. So how do we get paid? Excuse me. It's from the assessments we charge our financial institutions. So, and what does that mean to our employees? We're not on the general services pay scale. So that means that we can offer salaries that are highly competitive with those that are offered by the private sector and other government agencies. And on top of that, we have an exceptional benefits and retirement plan. And I know that's what hooked Joseph. So Joseph's going to quickly talk about that.
Yeah, thank you. It was one of the big selling points to me when I went out for my initial interviews out in DC for the position, was really the overall excellence of the benefits we provide. Being a government entity, it allows for a lot more leverage when it comes to bartering on things like insurance, but we've got great health insurance, dental insurance, vision insurance, basically anything you could need. I know a lot of you, since you're still in college, you're probably not thinking about it or waiting until you reach that 26 years old before you worry about getting off your parents. But in terms of it, we've got some really great benefits. Other big selling point was also the retirement accounts. We've got 2 separate 401ks for our employees, and in total, the corporation will match 10% of what you contribute. So real easy way to start putting money aside and getting ready for whenever retirement comes for you. In addition, we also have a government pension, so essentially a third retirement account that is set up for you as well. And if you're lucky enough to retire while Social Security is still around, you get that as well. Additionally, a new program that they've started rolling out or trying to incorporate is our student loan repayment program. So essentially, student loan assistance for individuals who have been with the organization to the point of becoming a commissioned examiner. That's normally around a 3 to 4 year track. But once you get to there, you can enjoy some additional benefits, as well as paid parental leave. So this is not only for the birth of a child, it's for birth, adoption, various different things dealing with new child or new individual as a part of your family. And you can get 12 weeks of paid parental leave. And in addition, you can kind of ramp that up to about 18 weeks in terms of our benefits. We allow our employees to use part of their own sick leave to take off additional weeks for paid parental leave. Additionally, at the end, you got great work benefits, a flexible work schedule. I'd say on average, you're really going to work 40 hours a week unless something's going crazy or hectic. So there's a great sense of work-life balance. And all of those federal holidays that you always saw during school and life, we get every single one of those off. So you've got a free 11 paid holidays during the year.
I just want to add to that. So I'm a new father of 4 children. I have 4 children. And you don't think about the benefit, the paid parental leave, or even the health insurance benefits until you really start a family. And when I compare my benefits to those of some of my friends and family in the private sector, I actually get embarrassed talking about it in some respects because I've been very lucky in that sense, and how much it costs to have a child and how much paid parental leave we get to have and so forth. It just is. It's not something that would be easily attainable in the private sector.
All right, thanks guys. So we kind of talked about like the exam process, and when you start with the FDIC, you know, we're gonna have a pretty regimented technical training side, but it's beyond that. You know, we are really committed to the development of our employees, a personal and professional development. We have multiple programs in place to help you throughout your career. We recently established our first Gen program that helps us. It's something for employees to celebrate milestones in their careers. Um, it's it also it allows for networking, helps you, it gives you an avenue to discuss personal challenges, personal goals, and in good networking supporting. The mentoring program, I can't speak highly enough about this one. We will literally pair you up with a tenured person or an executive in a different division or the same division, and it just allows you to access someone to find out what career steps they took, help you guide you along your career path through the FDIC. And then another cool thing we do, we have the career management program. So we have dedicated like professional career counselors in each region, and their goal is to help you develop your career. So they will help you prepare your resume. They will help you prepare for interviews for promotion opportunities. They can have skill assessments that kind of point you, how maybe find your niche in the FDIC. So again, a lot of cool things that help you develop your career along the way. You know, one of the most important things at the FDIC is our commitment to diversity, equity, and inclusion. It's not just a strategy here, it's really at our heart of our agency's mission, and it impacts everything we do as an organization. You know, even so much, but we have a 3-year diversity strategic plan. And at the FDIC, we believe that we need to lead with accountability and social responsibility to deliver change and eliminate barriers so we can grow and really harness the power of diversity. And we have a lot of programs in place to help that. And just a few of them I could mention, our special assistant rotational program, similar to the mentoring program, but this is where, again, it gives access to more people to work alongside an executive in Washington, D.C. and see what they do. And again, more networking opportunities, expressions of interest systems. To me, this is a really cool program where it allows you almost to test drive another job in the FDIC for up to 30, 60, 90 days. You can work at another job in your division, and maybe you work in a different division and kind of see, you know, what fits, and maybe pick up some new skills and network along the way. And then we have an employee resource group and a chairman's diversity advisory council. We call those CDAC. We have those councils in each region, and again, they are helped locally to help us expand our diversity inclusion efforts and awareness. So really important to us, and a lot of programs to help support that. All right.
Hey, Jeremy, just one thing I wanted to add. Jeremy went through several different programs where you're able to test drive or gain exposure to various parts with the FDIC. One thing that I want to mention is, you know, we're talking about examiner level positions right now, but once you get through our training program, the opportunities are limitless. We have, you know, we have divisions all over the country. We have divisions that you know, whether it's insurance and research, economics, consumer, not consumer protection. Oh shoot. Well, we have a legal division. Excuse me. We have people at the regional offices that are more like review type examiners. So although when you start with the FDIC, you start out as an examiner. It's in order to gain more opportunities, and the FDIC it just has a lot of opportunities, and we'll make sure that they incentivize you to go. And instead of you know, trying to pigeonhole you in one position, we're really trying. Employees that Jeremy have that advance throughout the FDIC, it reflects better on us in the field. So you know, that's what a lot of those programs are designed to do, is to push you forward and push you throughout up the corporate ladder per se.
That's a good point, Trey. I've had former employees out of my Eau Claire office. I have some that work in San Francisco now, some in Chicago, some in Columbia, South Carolina. So really, I hate to lose those people because they're good people, but you know, as you know, lots of career paths, and we're here to support you every step of the way. And if we can get good people to help the FDIC grow in any area, that's why we're talking to you today. So internships and positions at the FDIC. So one of the common questions I get during interviews from candidates, from students, is, what skills do I need to be successful at the FDIC? So that's a great question, and we can talk about it. The FDIC really values and promotes a culture of excellence, and there are multiple core competencies that our employees need to be really successful in the FDIC. You have to be a critical thinker. You have to be really good at communicating, both orally and written, as we talked about. Continual learning. We're always, the industry is evolving, the industry is changing. We have to keep pace. We have to keep learning. Customer service orientation. Your customers here are bankers. They're your fellow team members. There are employees in other parts of the division. So really got to have a service drive and be able to work with others. Emotional intelligence and resilience. Sometimes our job isn't easy. We have to deliver bad news to bankers, and that can be challenging. So, and a lot is working with teams. So, developing the skills to kind of navigate personalities and help you through those challenging situations. Flexibility. Our priorities can change overnight. Remember back in 2008 when the crisis hit, we had to switch gears, and we were rapidly changing what we were examining and how. Things can change the next day. So as much as, we love the variety, but you got to be flexible and be able to handle it. And then problem solving, as Joseph alluded to earlier when he talked about the exam process, and we can look at the numbers, but the true job of the examiner is to problem solve and really understand what's going on, what's driving the issues at the institution, what decisions is the bank making. And so, if you can bring this core set of competencies with you, you'll be successful here, and you'll certainly develop these over time. All right. So a couple of different paths to get into the FDIC. So that's why you're here, right? Let's talk about this. So internships. We have 2 internships programs with the FDIC. The first is called our Financial Management Scholars Program, or we shorthand call it the FMS. And what that is, it's an 8 to 10 week internship program that's really designed for our students that are going to be graduating seniors. So they come in for the summer for their final year at school, and they work alongside our examiners for 8 to 10 weeks, and they get to see what we do on a day-to-day basis. And you can see it's a paid internship. It pays quite well. The starting pay is $41,000 to $58,000. It really depends on your location. So if you're in a higher location area like Washington, D.C. or Chicago, there's a higher locality pay here. And to qualify, a lot of qualifying majors: accounting, banking, business admin, economics, finance. So really any related field of study, plus you just need like 3 hours of accounting to get in the door. And on the similar side, so more of a local program, we have our financial institution internship, and that's more of a local program. And that one we target more of our sophomores and juniors, because it can be up to a 2-year program. And that requires 640 hours of employment, which sounds a lot, but it's only 16 weeks. You can get most of that over one summer. And actually, a lot of our interns end up working with us during the school year as their schedule permits. Again, it's a paid internship, same qualifications. But the nice thing about both these programs, if you do a good job, and if it's a good fit and you like it, and there's a very good chance you're going to walk away from the internship with a post-graduation employment offer. And that's exactly what happened for Jenny. So Jenny, I just want to have you talk about your experiences a bit.
Yeah, definitely. So I started with the FDIC back in April of 2019 as an intern. And so I worked full-time through the summer. And so with that, kind of like they said on one of the prior slides, is that I believe I was in the office for 1 week, kind of going over training, orientation, documents, that kind of thing. And then the next week I was sent out to a bank, and I was alongside the examination team and really just going to meetings, listening in to discussions with bankers. So when they say it's a lot of on-the-job training, they're not kidding. You're thrown into it right away. And so I worked as an intern full-time in the summer, like I said, and then when my classes restarted in the fall, I was able to work part-time through my fall and spring semester until I graduated the following year. So I just did it for one summer, and I was still able to hit that 640 hours requirement for employment. And then after that, I was offered a full-time position as a financial institution specialist that we're going to talk about here in a little bit too. So yeah, it's a great start. I'm not really sure what we have for ages on the phone. But yeah, if you're freshman, sophomore, junior, really look into that internship program because it's a great transition into the financial institution specialist position. Pass it back to you, Jeremy.
And my college seniors out there graduating, I didn't forget about you. So we have, and this is actually postings we have now, we'll talk about in a little bit, but we have financial institution specialist positions. So those are for our candidates that have either recently graduated college or are going to be graduating soon. And so those are direct hire positions right into the Division of Depositor and Consumer Protection. So right with Amy's group or the Division of Risk Management and Supervision group. That's with Trey and my group. And that's how we found Joseph. And I know, Joseph, did you want to talk a little bit about your experiences?
Of course. Yeah, so I was, during my senior year at UW-Madison, had a chance to apply to various careers, as all you listening seniors know. Was contacted by the FDIC for an interview, and they flew me out to DC, paid for everything, explained to me the benefits of the position, and went through a whole interview process there. I think it was 2 or 3 days, and just got to learn a lot about the corporation, ask as many questions as I wanted, and I was offered a position. And to me, one of the greatest parts of the financial institution specialist position is the fact that you can work basically anywhere in the US. We, as Trey mentioned earlier, we've got 88 plus different offices all across the US. So people I interviewed accepted positions anywhere from San Francisco to Las Vegas to New York to someone like myself in Eau Claire, Wisconsin. So there's opportunities to work anywhere basically in the US that you could want. And as the program goes, it's basically set up to be around a 3-year kind of time frame for how the program helps you advance through your career, how you make your way through the promotions, how you get additional training, get additional responsibilities, and kind of slowly make your way up our exam process, learning more about how the process goes, gaining additional responsibilities, etc. And so during that process, we have various training programs and what we refer to as schools that you normally are going out to DC, again, participating with older examiners who have additional experience, having them kind of walk you through things, give you additional training. And to me, one of the most fun aspects of it is that I was part of a training class. My phys class were class 72, and I've got individuals from my class who now work all across the US. So if there's ever a time where I'm in a different state, a different city, I've got connections, as well as some of them are becoming lifelong friends. You have a lot of free time when you're out in DC on the weekends. You have times to explore the city, have fun, things like that. There's a real great balance and kind of overall familial connection with this organization. You work with people so closely and you kind of spend a lot of time with them that it is nice to be more than just a regular work environment where you just come in, clock your 40 hours, get out. There's good connections. It's not just about work all the time. We also know that we're individuals and we have lives outside of work. So to me, a real great program, and glad to have been with the organization since I got hired.
Thanks, Joseph. All right, so I know what you're thinking, right? You've sat through 22 slides of the most exciting federal government presentation ever. And you say, Jeremy, I'm hooked. I want to get in. How do I apply? Well, that's what we're going to talk to you about now. So we have, like I mentioned, we have 2 postings, one for the Division of RMS and one for DCP. And I will drop these links in the chat when we are finished here, and I'll actually show you how. Kind of 3 steps to apply for a federal job. Not terribly difficult, but they're important. The first, and I'll walk you through this. The first is creating a USAJOBS account. USAJOBS is a separate website that FDIC, all job applications go through the FDIC USAJOBS website. That's our central hiring hub. So external candidates, internal candidates. If I were to apply for promotion internally, I have to go through USAJOBS too. So that's kind of where everyone applies. And then once you find a position you're interested in, you will have to answer certain eligibility and vacancy questions. They're going to make sure you're eligible for the position, and then they're also going to try to gauge if you bring in the necessary skills and experience for that position. And then most important, got to make sure you upload the required documents. If you don't, they're probably just going to toss out your application. So you got to make sure that you have everything uploaded. For our entry-level positions, that means resume, transcripts, and cover letter. Not every entry level requires cover letter, but some do. So I say it's a good thing. Put that in there. And helpful hint: spell check that cover letter and make sure it's well written, because we see those. All right, so give me a second here. I'm going to switch over and take you to one of these links.
While you're switching over there, Nims, I see a couple of questions in chat that I just wanted to address while you're working here. But I see an individual who asked, are there any possible ways for people who don't live in that region but are interested in an internship to work? And I would say yes. You can, every region we have, every office we have all across the US has the opportunity to offer internships to fill their needs as is needed. And so that'd be kind of along the lines of what Jeremy's going to show you here. But if you navigate to USAJOBS, any office that has postings for an internship, for a new position for the Phys, you'll be able to find that online and be able to apply all across the country. I'll toss it back to you, Nims, now that you got your website up. Just need you to tell them all about it. If you unmute, sir. It happens every time. We've been doing this for 2 years, but hey. Well, while he struggles with that, I'll probably address the next question. Any internship opportunities more focused towards economic stuff, potentially surrounding macroeconomics or analyzing economic trends in the nation? I would say yes. So one of the divisions with the FDIC specifically, we have a division of DIR. So as Trey mentioned, there's RMS, risk management, DCP is consumer protection, DRR is resolution and receiverships, but then DIR is the division of, oh goodness, I'm blanking.
Insurance and research.
Yes, and DIR is centered around looking at overall economic conditions, analyzing the banking sector as a whole, and kind of keeping the organization up to date and abreast of any current issues, things that our bankers are seeing, as well as overall what the economy is looking like, what we can expect as possible upcoming issues, as well as new thoughts, rules, and regulations that are coming out, and how our bankers need to be prepared for it. So there's a bit of everything at this organization that you can find, all depending on your interests. Nims, looks like you found the mute button, so I'll toss it back to you.
Can you hear me now, Joseph?
We can.
Yes.
Thank you. Technologically challenged today. Going back to one answer about the internship program too, with one benefit we forgot to mention is you do get a lodging stipend. So they will give, the FDIC gives you $2,500 up front. So if you want to go work in a different city, you get that money and they pay you up front. And where if you need to go sublet an apartment or find a place to live, that we give you some money to help defray that cost. And then when you're out traveling too on bank exams, we cover all that. We cover your hotel, we cover your food, we cover your mileage for your car. So really, it's a really good program. Can't talk enough about it. All right, so those two links that I showed you, if you click on one of them, and this is for one of them, it's going to take you to a private FDIC landing page on our FDIC.gov website. So it's not public facing. So you can look, when we're done here, you can click through and it's going to talk about, again, what kind of things we talk about. Why the FDIC, many different things. What we're going to do, one cool part of it here is you can actually pick the location you're going to work at. And I'm just going to pick all other locations. And if you chose, it kind of shows you what your salary would look like over the first couple of years. So you would start off at, your base salary would be $50,000 perhaps, with locality adjustment 53,000. And if you do a good job and keep moving up through your training over the first 4 to 5 years, at the end of year 5 or year 4, you're going to be earning about 81,000. That's just based on today's numbers. So pretty quick progression. So that's a pretty cool thing. And then it lists all the locations. So right now on the risk management side, we are hiring in Trey's office in Appleton. We are hiring in my office in Eau Claire. We are hiring in the Madison, Wisconsin risk office. And then on the compliance side, like I said, we have postings in Madison and Eau Claire. Both of those would be for Amy. So let's click on this one. We still seeing that, Joseph?
Yes, we can see it.
All right. All right. So this is the USAJOBS website. And so the first thing is this is the posting. This is literally the posting to work in my office. And it gives you all the information you need here, opening, closing dates. You'll notice it's open till April 7th. And that is because it's a nationwide posting. So we got to give lots of people a chance to apply. But that's good for you. It gives you plenty of chances. It talks about all the locations we have so you can see the list. You can get relocation. So if you decide you want to work in our Minneapolis office or Chicago office, we'll pay you some relocation benefits to get there. The travel required, it says 75%. I think that's going to be pretty high. I don't think that's going to happen going forward. I think they have to kind of throw that as the highest travel office, but as we leverage technology, our travel is going to be, I think, really limited going forward. So don't let that number scare you. Talks about the job duties and the conditions of employment and the various qualifications you'll need. So it's a grade point average. And I know I'm going through this quick, but I'm sure you can take the time after we're done here. But it's pretty extensive. So how will you be evaluated? So that's the thing. You can, if you're qualified, we'll invite you for an interview. So what are the required documents? Remember I said your resume. So here's helpful hint number 2. A government resume can be more than one page. Kind of goes the opposite of what you are told for private sector. More is better for us. So we really want to highlight your skills. So you can have a government resume that's 2, 3, 4 pages long. And why do we do that? Why do we say to do that? Because if you go up here, every job posting is going to talk about what we call the KSAs, our knowledge, skills, and abilities that you need to do the job. And so for this, for our position, there's 6 of them. And those questions we talked about, they're going to tie into those KSAs. So you're going to answer, what's your experience of accounting? What's your experience making presentations? And in the individuals in our HR department that are looking at our applications, they're going to look at your answers and they're going to compare it back to your resume. So the more time you spend in your resume, you can tailor it to meet these KSAs. Talk about what your experience is. Don't sell yourself short. You don't want to lie, but don't sell yourself short either. Promote yourself, and that'll give you the best chance to get invited to a hiring event. So once you pass through this process, your application is accepted. If you are one of the higher ranked candidates, you're going to get a link to an automated writing assessment. And that's like just an online 20-minute thing. And if you can show that you have the sufficient writing skills, then you would get invited to our hiring event, which for this particular posting, it's going to be from June 7th to June 9th. So that would be like Joseph discussed, typically it'd be in Washington, D.C., but given the pandemic, we're not out there traveling yet, so that would be a virtual event. That's where you would have some presentations and you would be part of the interview process.
Just to quickly jump in, NIMS, saw a question asking, how would I apply for a specific city? If the application's anything like it was for me, when you're going through this application, you'll get to a point where it asks you, okay, as NIMS showed, there's a list of available cities for locations. And then normally there'll be a question during this of, out of our listed availabilities, what is your preference? Back when I applied it, I think it allowed you to indicate 3 different locations that you preferred to apply to. And so there's a chance to apply to any of those locations, and they'll kind of take you through the interview process. Someone asked, is it the same for internships? I would have to pass that to you, NIMS. Is the application for internships also let you indicate location?
Yep. You get to pick your location, and you can list up to 3 as well for those. And so it helps to, So make sure you're going to pick a spot you want to work to, though. Don't if you're going to work in New York, you better be ready, because they're going to pick the best candidates. I'll leave some time for more questions and answers now. So I'm going to try to. Oh, and I'll go back and say the Handshake app. The Handshake. That's how we communicate with the schools. Those links that I will drop in the chat in a minute here. Those we'll always post them on Handshake, and I try to reach every school. So for every financial institution specialist position, every internship position, those are going to get posted on Handshake too. Can you put them in the chat? Thank you, buddy. Appreciate that.
There is one question I jumped over at one point, NIMS. I'll put this out to you and Trey. The question is there any internship positions on the healthcare related side? If this question is, I'm guessing, related to working in healthcare and not reviewing healthcare related loans, then I would garner the statement being most likely no.
Yeah, probably not with the FDIC. You could certainly go out there though on the USAJOBS website, because there are agencies in the government that looking for healthcare people, and they do offer. I'm sure they offer internships. So USAJOBS is not just the FDIC hub; it's the entire federal government hub. So you can certainly get out there and look around. You might find something.
Great questions so far. We've got a little bit of time here for maybe one or two more questions if anyone has them. You can drop it in the chat or raise your hand if you would like to ask the question in the group. And maybe Jeremy, if you want to stop sharing, you read my mind, stop sharing your screen. That's great. One question, what opportunities are there for someone who majors in marketing communications? Maybe with an emphasis in professional writing, anything in that realm?
There's always opportunities. So, just if the financial institution specialist, I mean, marketing is one of those related majors. So if you were to come in with a minimum grade point and the minimum accounting credits, you could get in that door, because we have a whole division in DC that needs to write policies, needs to write guidance. We have things we submit to the public and to Congress. So yes, we do need that skill. And you could eventually get there, but there's other internships and postings that are on the USAJOBS website for the FDIC, and that you might find something that lines up pretty good there. I would say, especially like in the economics, the division of insurance and research, a lot of our econ majors go there, and they're writing they're sending out to us in the field their assessments of the economy, the housing market, the dairy market, and so those are the things we got to look at. Don't see it fairly obvious. So the internship link right now, our internship application window is closed, but for the FDIC one, so you click on that one, you click on the USAJOB ones. Once you register you just follow the apply, and we have our email addresses in here. So if you're having trouble afterwards, give me a call. I'll be happy to do a Teams meeting or a Zoom meeting, and I can walk you through it and help you apply.
And Alyssa and I can connect you to the presenters today as well if you want to reach out to either of us on our campuses. I'm from the River Falls campus and Alyssa is from the Eau Claire campus, and we're happy to help in that regard as well. Any other questions from our students in the audience today?
Alyssa, I just wanted to quickly go back to Edwin's question. Also, we have a communications division now that's newly established. So again, they have pulled examiners from the field, and that's exclusively what they do. Not only writing policy, but writing our communications. We have a weekly communicative email that goes to the entire, I think it's to the entire FDIC, and it highlights field offices. It highlights, it is the true definition of a marketing communications. They're trying to make the corporation feel smaller. So, that's another area where your services would be very welcome.
Wonderful. Well, I will wrap things up here. Just want to thank Jeremy, Trey, Joseph, Amy, Jenny for their time today. This has been a fantastic career trek, and I know I've learned a lot about your organization and the opportunities available. And a reminder, the trek has been recorded today and will be added to the website uwf.edu/UWS career treks. And we usually get that out there in about a week. Also on the website, you can find upcoming career treks. And next week, we hope you can join us at Wednesday at noon. UW La Crosse will be hosting Festival Foods. So again, thank you to FDIC for your partnership on this week's trek, and for the students who attended the event. And have a great afternoon, everyone. And Joseph just dropped, if anyone has additional questions or wants additional details, they can feel free to reach out to him, and he dropped his email in there. So thank you, Joseph, and he can connect you to everybody else that was on the trek as well. So thank you very much, everyone, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of the week.
Yep, thank you all.